I'm Erika Grey.
And I'm Don Pravda, in the land of Belgium in Brussels.
Yes, we're in Brussels right now. We're just walking out of a cafe, and we're going directly in front of the Berlaymont. As you can see. Don, I can't believe we're here. Can't believe we're actually at the Berlaymont. And this is it. It's a pretty large building. It's very large.
Not in front of the United Nations, we're in front of the
Berlaymont.
EU.
We're in front of the EU. And actually, the European Parliament just approved a major decision concerning AI. And we've talked about how the European Union is rewriting the rules for the world. Well, now they're rewriting the rules. Well, actually, they're not rewriting the rules. They're initiating rules for AI.
They're creative. And this is just the beginning.
Just the beginning. Well, actually, the Digital Services Act was pretty formidable and a writing of rules for the world, but also now for AI.
AI and the technology will be brewing out of this capital in Brussels, Belgium. And as you can see, we have about 70 flags in front of you in the camera, and you'll be hearing a lot about AI.
Yes, and so we're going to give you a little tour as we walk around the building, and we're checking it out ourselves.
Okay.
And we're now in Brussels, and this is we're going to give you a little bit of a view of Brussels as we walk. Don, wouldn't you say these are huge buildings? Oh, wow, look at that one, Don.
These are enormous complexes.
Yes.
These are what you call gigantic. It's like several United Nations buildings, as that I am from
Formidable.
New York City. Formidable, enormous. It surrounds this area in Brussels. This is the seat of the EU, and it is very formidable looking and dominant in this region of the city.
Yes, very much so. And we're going to stand right now in front of the Robert Schuman Monument. This is a monument, Don, a new monument to Robert Schuman, one of the fathers of the European Union. So there is the Robert Schuman Monument. He lived from 1886 to 1663, and this is at the Berlaymont. And here you are, Don. There you are. And so there's some serious decisions coming out of Brussels. And we've been covering these decisions on the show. Actually, we read another piece today in Brussels Morning where the Ferry Breton is in Germany.
Yes.
Looking to have ammunition made.
Mr. Breton is in Germany at this time.
Yes, the EU army. And the EU is doing more for its military. Oh, there's another. Look at this interesting building, Don. Yeah, we're walking around the Berlaymont.
The EU will be involved.
Don, you're a little hidden in the Oh, there you go. Don disappeared. There's Don. And there across the way, we have the Charlemagne Carol de Groot. That is another EU building. My goodness, Don. Well, what would you say compared to the White House?
Now, the White House is relatively a small building in Washington, D.C., a distinguished one at that, with a rather important address in Pennsylvania Avenue, but a fairly small headquarters, the State Department, much larger, but this is...
Wow! Look at this. This is the first time. There we go. We've got the
20
sign.
times the size.
The future of Europe. Look at these buildings and these EU flags. Well, the EU gang all comes to Brussels, and look at this building. Sorry, we are just in awe over the Berlaymont. I'm going to try to give you a little glimpse of this. This is a formidable building. Now, in this empire lineup, writing rules for the world. And we highlight that, Don, on this channel.
Right.
Nobody else seems to be highlighting that. And by the way, there we go, giving you some views of this
Berlaymont.
huge building. And
European Commission.
you can see it from there. You can see that this is huge. So here we are, Don, at the Berlaymont. And so not only is Europe beginning to write the rules for the world, but you don't have a lot of journalists really covering that. And now the landmark decision for AI, and that's the next that's in the works, is they will be the first actually to write rules for AI that the rest of the world is going to have to follow. So I'm so glad that we're highlighting this on our channel,
Right.
because the US media isn't talking about the power of Brussels or the power of the European Union in this multipolar world. Everything is just US based, just US. And there's more to the world than just the US. As a matter of fact, we've encountered some anti-US sentiment.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely here.
We had lunch with somebody, a VIP we will not name, who we heard some anti-US sentiment from.
Right.
We listened to Bruno Le Maire, France's,
In person.
yes,
In
in
person.
economic minister.
Bruno Le Maire at our conference.
Yes, and also very talking about Europe having its own everything, really, not relying on the United States. So we also listened to Bruno Le Maire and this very inward building of this empire and moving away from the United States and relying on the United States. And they want to produce their own goods, have access to their own, and rely.
Without America's produce, goods, services, insular Europe.
Yes.
Without the USA.
Now, what's my camera doing, Don? How come this only happens to me? The camera's. Oh, wait, that's better. That's better.
And by the way, it might look like in the background that this is barbed wire or a prison. It's not. This is the EU. This is the look of the building. Don't blame us, by the way. We're not the architects.
Here,
Their
let's
choice.
check this out. Wow. Oh, wait, we've got a crane here. Sorry, folks. Look at this. This is mammoth. This is huge. Like, really huge. Oh, there are more EU flags. More EU flags. Okay, so we're going to go now to the other side of the Berlaymont. So, Don, what do you think of that decision concerning ammunition? Well, we know the EU is building its own army. And, of course, Ukraine is going to speed
I'd also
that up.
say that there is no end in sight to this war in the Ukraine, Russia. And is anybody, any of the powers, including this one in front of us, or the United States, is anybody trying to resolve this war?
Well, you know, no one is.
No one.
No one is. Still, no one is. And it looks like here across the way, you've got some police going into, let's see, Swedish presidency of the Council of the European Union. And the council looks like they're building. And also, we've passed the European External Action Service, and we're going to take you up there a little bit. And of course, I'm coming out of the camera over here.
Yeah.
And Don is losing me.
no,
I'm losing Don.
we're.
I'm losing Don.
You don't have to ask for missing persons. I'm here.
This is
Not
pretty
going
big.
anywhere. This is an enormous experience. And right across the street is the expo. The
Experience Europe.
Europe.
Visit us. Wow. Experience Europe. Yes, we are. And there's the External Action Service. So I don't think you can
And
comprehend.
a building we've been speaking about, the SAS.
Yes, with Joseph Borrell,
Joseph Borrell.
right now is essentially the Secretary of State. I guess that's what you would call him, the equivalent of the U.S. Secretary of State. Although some would debate that, wondering if he has the same powers as the U.S. Secretary of State. But he's a VP under Ursula von der Leyen's commission. And here we are with this extraordinary, the beginning of this building. Look at this. Look at this, is just huge. And of course with the EU flags and Experience Europe. So Don, what is your So Don, what's your impression of all this? Here we go. What's your impression
Erika
of all
and
this?
I are experiencing, as that's what the sign across the street says, Europe, but in person. But when you're here, the magnitude of this capital of the EU, it is astonishing. It's like the city of Washington, D.C., right in this area. It's like a combination, in that I have seen these buildings: State Department, Pentagon, White House, Capitol Hill. There is a Congress side and a Senate side. It's like all of these buildings combined right here in this area, and it's astonishing. And
Yes.
as the sun is trying to peek out, let's just say it's shedding light on this area
Actually,
a
we've
little
got
more.
some interesting. We're going to go
Yeah.
up. We're going to go closer to the building because there is an interesting little maps, and I thought that maybe we would check that out. Oh, this is not the way to go. This is the wrong escalator. Okay, so maybe we'll get in this way. Up, Don, I'm losing you again.
Yep.
Okay, so we're walking around the Berlaymont. These buildings are, of course, we're used to Manhattan, Don, with the skyscrapers. But they're not skyscrapers, but they definitely have almost a more powerful feel than those buildings in Manhattan. And those buildings in Manhattan goes high. Wouldn't you say these are almost more powerful than what you feel when you're in Manhattan with
yes.
those? I mean, I want you to get the feel of this, like get the feel of what we're feeling right now with these buildings. They're just mammoth, but mammoth. Oh, Don, I'm almost lost you.
Okay, well,
Okay, so we're gonna go down these steps.
moving quickly, walking down.
Yep. Moving quickly, walking down. I keep losing Don.
They
Have to hold on to Don. Don will get lost. I will get lost.
don't have to call the police. I'm still here, and the police wouldn't want me there. So
So here we are now in front, and it's just, you'd have to be here to just experience this. So all of that talk in the US media about the Europe falling apart, this doesn't look like anything that was going to fall apart then 10 years ago, 15 years ago, which is all that the media ever reported on. Not by any means. This is a major capital. These are major capital buildings.
which are rarely ever discussed. You hear just in passing information about the EU. There are some headlines. I don't think it's particularly well reported. It's not like Capitol Hill.
Let's see. How Brussels became the capital of Europe. In this neighborhood, its European quarter. The residents. Let's see. These are resident palace. So this gives some history. Building the parliament. Goes all the way back to Leopold, talking about Leopold. 1987 to build an international congress. Europe in the neighborhood, 3 headquarters for 1 parliament. Europe in the neighborhood, building the Justius Lips. You can't pronounce it, Don. It's Latin. In search of a site for the council. Sprawling around Schuman, building the Charlemagne. And there it is. They've got a picture of the building, rebuilding the Berlaymont. And so you can come and you can essentially read the history. And I'm showing you Brussels, European capital, the squares, scientific campus, birth of the, it just goes on and on and on. On and on and on. So this is, Don, this is no hot dog stand.
No. This is rather serious real estate.
Serious. Whoa,
I
look
don't
at
think
this.
they're going
This
to...
is the other side of the building. And
I don't
by the
believe
way,
they're going to create condos out of these buildings.
this
is
building,
here to stay.
it has a particular name, which means that it's in the shape of a cross. That's kind of interesting. Well, not kind of interesting. That's interesting.
Didn't notice this.
Yes, you can see it's in the shape of a cross. So that's a bizarre construct for the EU headquarters. So I think we're giving you a really good view of this building. Now we're going to head back now towards the flags. And so, Don, any more thoughts on this?
I think in coming years you're going to be hearing a lot more from Brussels and the EU.
And the decisions.
And the decisions they'll be making. I'd like to emphasize, in just 13 months from now, there will be a major election at the EU. Who will be the next leader?
Yes, the next commission president.
Keep posted. I mean, the world focuses on the American primaries, and Mr. Trump gets a lot of attention. Of course, Mr. Biden claims he is running for re-election. However, very subtly, in just 13 months, follow the election right here in Brussels. Who will be the next leader of the EU? And we have stated this question before other Americans. Hello, who will be the next leader of the EU next year?
We're going to keep following that. And there we go again. The External Action Service building. So this is it. And we're going to actually be at the EU Parliament, which is in Strasbourg. Interesting how the EU buildings, certain main buildings, are throughout different countries because they actually would fight for that. Everybody wanted to have some representation.
I'd like to throw in one other sign in the background. Way out there, not quite next door. The future is Europe.
Yes.
That's the message here.
You can see
it. It does not say the future is America. It does not say the future is Israel. The future is Europe.
And I think that the Americans are going to learn that the hard way when our dollar tanks, which is just going to be inevitable. So this is our reporting for today. We hope you enjoyed this. We looked forward to coming here and experiencing these buildings. And there it is again, the Berlaymont. And Don, are you right behind me?
I am.
There it is in the Re-Empower, oh wait a minute, I'm out of the film, Re-Empower EU. So stay tuned for more from The Twist. And
I would say goodbye in the languages of the Flemish, Dutch, and the French, but I'm going to let them in their language say goodbye. But I'll say shalom, shalom, shalom from the EU.
And until next time, stay tuned for more, subscribe to our channel, and be sure to check out our Amazon store. And hit the subscribe button now.